Hey gang, John Bacarella here with your Lake St. Clair Ice Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Wednesday, February 23rd, and we are getting awful close to March Madness here. It won't be long, we'll be ice fishing in March. And I had a pretty good scare though, I'll tell you, with this weather that just came in. With all this rain, 55-degree temperatures, 40-mile-an-hour winds. I don't know if you folks get woke up in the middle of the night by the sound of the wind, but I do, because I'm always thinking, which way is it blowing and what's it doing to the ice? Wanted to wait to do the report today till the afternoon where I could get out. The wind was blowing offshore for about the last 12 hours, and now it's finally really calmed down. And this afternoon I got out and did a little driving around, and I was quite happy to see that the ice off of Metro Beach from Metro over to the roughly about the 400 Club is still intact, although the ice out in front of the spillway is, greatly eroded out there, which you would imagine. So I don't think there's going to be any, going in at Crocker and then going around the corner around the spillway, so to speak. But there is still a ton of ice looking out from Beacons Cove out onto the main lake and then over towards Metro Beach. There's just a lot of ice out there. We really didn't lose much ice as far as thickness goes. I know we lost ice down in the mile roads, getting blown out. So maybe some of the inner bays down there will still have ice, like 10 Mile Bay, 9 Mile Bay, and places like that. The canals, obviously. But the main lake ice down on that south end looks like it got all pushed out to Canada. Won't know for sure where everything went until we get a good satellite image, but it's been too cloudy and foggy to get a good satellite image. So maybe later this week, and if I get one, I'll post it up on our Facebook page. Now, with that said, same thing over at Selfridge. We didn't lose any of that main lake ice out there, although that canal, I would imagine, did get eroded underneath. They were still driving machines out at both Metro and Selfridge today. But it was a situation like this, probably, I don't know, it was probably like 10, 12 years ago with my son out there. We had, fantastic ice conditions, had a warm up, and we went out on the machine and we went through. So, we were drilling through like 18, 20 inches of ice all day long, and then ended up into an area that wasn't nearly as thick, and we busted through. So, for me, this would be like the end of the machine season for me personally. I wouldn't be running my machine out there after that big warm-up, because it's probably made some areas unsafe, and you won't know till you get on them. But, everybody's got to make those decisions for themselves. But as of today, they were still driving machines out at Metro and at the Selfridge boat launch, and I would imagine they're doing that up on the north end as well. Now, all that rain that we had definitely eroded ice around the shorelines, in the canals, at any of the access points, especially with seawalls. That ice really did get eroded, and I know of a couple of guys that, their feet went through, or, they went up to their knees in different places getting on or getting off of the ice, just because that shoreline, and I've talked about this before, that ice along the shoreline is always going to be the thinnest ice. For the most part, unless you get out somewhere and you get on new ice. But if you get ice of the same age, that ice along the edge is going to be thinner than the ice 2 or 3 or 4 feet out. So one of the recommendations I can make for you guys, like going forward, if you're going to continue ice fishing, especially if you're fishing the canals, is number one, don't climb down onto the ice right off the seawall. If you're going to get down, get down off of a dock and in between where the poles are, because that ice does get eroded around those poles as well. And one of the other tricks that we like to do is we'll take like an extra bucket and we'll put a rope on it, and you can put that bucket down, lower it down onto the ice, and step down onto that bucket so that you can get, up and down off of these docks. Now, that water's dropped a lot. So, last year you could pretty much step off a dock onto the ice without any trouble, but with the water down, it's a long way down there. So, and it also helps you getting back up onto the dock. We use the rope so that when you get back up onto the dock, you can pull that bucket up. You don't have to try to reach down there and grab the bucket, if that makes sense. So have about a 6-foot rope onto that bucket, and then you can get up and down off the docks a whole lot safer, because you don't want to be jumping up and down, right? That's kind of silly. You don't know that thickness of the ice. If it is thin, the last thing in the world you want to do is jump down onto it or push off when you're getting on and off. So for you guys that are more experienced in ice fishing, I'm sorry for that. You probably already know that, but there's a lot of newcomers to ice fishing, and I want to try to keep people as safe as I can out there. One of the other tidbits, and I know I've shared this before too, is especially this time of the year, getting into these late ice seasons, that ice on the north-facing seawalls or edges is going to be thicker than on the south side, south-facing side. And that's because of that sun angle. That sun is coming up on the south, and it's blasting onto that north seawall or the rocks or whatever. That north shoreline is going to get more exposed to the sun. And if you've noticed, even in parking lots and stuff today when it didn't even get above freezing, right, all the ice is all melted. And that's just because that sun is so strong at this time of the year that it supersedes however cold it is out there. It warms up that surface. So always remember that, you know, that south face, that north-facing shoreline is going to be the side that's going to have the strongest ice. It may not still be safe, but it's going to be stronger than the opposite side. So that's probably all I'm going to say about that right now. Obviously, stay away from any place that's got current, like the spillway or the Clinton River, or any drainage ditches, any place that some of these canals over by our Metro store, like Venetian and Archer, and those canals that are open to the main lake and then go into Black Creek. A lot of those canals opened right up now with this rain and the wind and everything that we have, because they have a lot of current flow going through them. So stay away from current areas. And you know, a lot of the other ice is, you know, we didn't lose much thickness, so it should be pretty much what you guys had last week. Now, fishing-wise, we definitely are going to have water clarity issues now. We had a lot of wind, we had a lot of rain, so water clarity is going to be an issue for everybody, especially for the spearers at this time of the year with what we got going on out there. We are seeing stratification, or at least we did. And what I mean by stratification, that upper layer is going to be dirtier, and a lot of times down right near the bottom it's going to be cleaner. So, you know, don't totally dispel an area just because when you cut a hole that water looks off-colored or dirty. It might actually be clean down below, and you're going to have to just try it to find out if it's going to work or not. You can drop a camera down, but a lot of times using just a flasher or something, you'll see the fish's reaction to that bait when it comes into visibility, and that gives you a good idea of what the clarity is. And who cares if you're catching fish? If you're catching them in dirty water or clear water, it doesn't really matter. One thing is, the fish generally, when that water is off-colored, you got to sit down right on top of them because they can't see the bait from as far away. But once you do find the fish, they tend to hold better. And you might not get as fast of a bite going on, but you can have a more prolonged bite when in that off-colored water, because the fish aren't as skittish. They don't tend to move nearly as much. They stay put more. They're a little bit closer to the bottom. They, you know, orient more to the bottom when the water is off-colored. So, I mean, that's just kind of another tip there for fishing in dirty water. Panfish bite has still been going pretty good in the canals. Sean Spar sent me some pics earlier this week, and I know they got into some panfish again. You know, that's up on the north end down here at Metro. It's kind of slowed down a little bit, although the guys, right when they're, you know, I was talking about riding the wave of the weather coming in, they got them really good right as that front was coming in. They got into some really nice panfish back there in the marsh area again. So, you know, riding those waves is kind of important this time of the year. The changing, the barometric pressure, when it changes, it really triggers that bite. Same thing happened with perch out here too, and it was again a shallow bite as that front was moving in, and the day, you know, that it actually rained for the guys that were still out there. They caught quite a few fish. Metro Beach out on the main lake in that 10 to 12 foot of water out by the jam has still been producing walleyes, and it's been one of those things. It's like an hour-long bite. You're either on them and you just slaughter them, or you're off of them and you might get one or two fish. But the guys, when they're on them, are doing double-digit numbers when they do find them out there. Now that's going to start to get a little sketchier going out farther and farther into those, you know, out by that jam area as we get later. Right now we still have a lot of ice out there, but eventually it is going to start to erode out there, and it's going to become much more dangerous going out near that jam. And if you're not using a machine, it's a long walk. So enough said about out there by the jam. I think that's all I got for you guys this week. Just if you're going to get out there, we do have some stable weather coming in. It's going to be very comfortable ice fishing temps coming in here over the next like 5 days, with highs in the upper 20s, and then going into the weekend it looks like low 30s. relatively mild wind forecast. As long as we don't get any big blows offshore, we should be good down here off of the beach. That north end of the lake is still locked up pretty solid, and I don't expect that ice to go anywhere for a while here. So we should have a couple of more weeks of good ice fishing. We still got sleds at the store. I got some more augers coming in here, and we still got all your basic necessities for ice fishing, although we are starting to get more and more open water stuff in now as well. So if you get a chance, get out there, enjoy this late ice. The bite ought to start getting really good going into March Madness, and we'll see you at the shops this weekend. Hey, if you like this video content and you want to get updated as soon as the next video is out there, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon, and you'll get notified as soon as the next video is up.